Hey everybody, this is Nick here. Tonight I'm going to run through something very quick. It's a key feature in Symbility that was kind of put out, I don't know, a few years ago, but they've been fine-tuning it ever since. But if you're having trouble creating macros or batches, it's best to start with an assembly and then roll from there, right? So we're assuming you got your claim set up, you got your estimate and your floor plan. They have built-in options on building rooms, building drywall, building things out, right? There's houses for anything, the wall framing, the roofing, wiring. So we're just going to do a basic interior ceiling. Once I do this assembly, I'm going to show you how to customize it and then save it into your own system if you want to use it that way. So you click the assembly and just drag and drop it on the room. It's going to ask you to set the coverage. Again, most of this assume is already in there. The ceiling is 8 years old. We're replacing the drywall, tear out and replacement. You set your drywall thickness 1/2 or 5/8 depending on your carrier guidelines. It is not an exterior ceiling. So I'm going to set the surface finish to texture. We're going to do popcorn because I want to see what it does. It is over 10 feet. We'll just say full room. We're just kind of throwing some stuff in there to check on it, right? Masking and prep. This is a carrier specific guideline here. If the carrier doesn't want masking and they want labor hours, this is where you can adjust that. I'm going to select to mask the floor and the walls because we're spraying popcorn. Items that need to be removed and reset. I have, let's see, this is a bedroom. It's a pretty big one. So we'll say there's 2 diffusers. There is 1 carbon monoxide detector. There's a smoke detector. We've got 4 recessed lights and we have a ceiling fan, right? So just assume this is like a master bedroom. We're going to move on from that. Items that require replacement. I'm not replacing anything, so we won't go there. Trim type. There is crown molding. It's paint grade. It is not damaged. And we're going to say it is, up to 4 inches. Just say 3 1/4. Room manipulation for contents. It's a medium room. This can be medium, small, large, whatever. And debris removal, I'm going to give it a truck and a hauling 1/2 ton. Now, if you use more than one assembly, be aware that it will throw a debris removal in every assembled room or process that you build. So you have to be considerate of this when you're writing the estimate. Most carriers, most firms want debris removal in a separate folder and want to separate it out. We'll go over that at a later date. This is just for all intents and purposes, 1 room of drywall damage. Answer the questions and click generate. It's going to show you the list of items that it put in here, right? You can select these, you can customize them, you can change them, do whatever you want. And here's the item, the line right here called add to batch. It literally gives you the option to add to a batch, and you can create the item batch and call it interior ceiling. It will then take all of this that you've applied in here and it will put it in the estimate, but it also saved it in a batch right here. So now you have line item breaks, you have the wordings, the categories, everything broken out. This is pre-made into Symbility, which is pretty good, right? And so there's a few things in here that not necessarily I agree with. Like for instance, there's no primer on the new drywall. I didn't really look at customizing the square foot. I could have done that on that previous page. Everything else lines out, right? Just based on the size of the room, but it still needs changes. So we don't have insulation and things like that, right? So I'm just going to find some insulation. We're going to look for blown in, and I'm going to throw 10 inch in here. Drop that in, and then I'm going to add prime drywall ceiling, and I'm going to throw that in. Now I'm going to organize this in the estimate, right? Put this up here, put the prime under the popcorn, and there you go. So you say, okay, well, now I've got, I made changes. I'm going to resave the batch. Very easy. Take it and add it in. I mean, you can delete the batch if you want to, take all the items and save them again, and it throws it in there. Make sure there's no overlap and duplicating. So now, instead of having to do the assembly every time, you just go into the batch, take what you need, drop it, and you can do a whole room. Or you can take different sections, right? Ceiling and insulation, drop it in. Here's the catch. If you take what I consider a line item break or a caption with the line items, you cannot manually adjust the quantity, okay? If you move this first and drop your covering in there, and then you take the line items, you see the red numbers now, you can adjust the quantity. So you got to be careful when you're dragging a batch. You don't want to drag the line item break and the items at the same time, or you can't adjust the quantity. And again, you know, if we were tearing off popcorn, doing whatever, you know, this is just for example purposes to show the difference in that. Masking and prep is okay. That'll auto apply to the walls and the floors. And so that's the difference, right? You want to drag the line item break first, and then you want to drag your items, and you can adjust the quantity. Crown molding may be different. You may still have to go in and adjust, you know, one stick of crown, and then you want to paint the rest. But it's very easy to create batches. They're same thing as macros and Xactimate, but I recommend using the assemblies. If you don't know anything about Symbility, these assemblies are great. They're really, really good, and they will help you get started in the right way, and then you can fine-tune them to carrier guidelines. Roofing also has the same concept, right? You're going to get an assembly. You're going to say asphalt roofing. You're going to drop it on the roof. You fill out the coverage. You looked at full replacement or repair. You know, you can swap and change whatever. We're going to set this as a 15-year-old roof. It's 3-tab, 25-year. I want starter row on the eaves and rakes. Again, this is a carrier preference, right? No ITIL, cornice selections. If you have them for cornice returns, this is a simple gable roof. We don't have them. I drew this like a mobile home. Single layer felt, ice and water shields, not present. You can swap it to synthetic if you want. Additional layers. Is a redeck needed? No. Does the deck need to be re-nailed? Yes, this is a wind speed code, right? So I'm going to assume this is down in the south on the coast. It's going to throw in some code. Drip edge is required. Gutter apron, no. Gutter apron and drip edge are not the same thing, right? Gutter apron goes on your eaves, has a wider berth and a different lip. Drip edge, rake, and eaves, the combo item, is typically the right item to use in residential installations. It is not painted drip edge. There is valley metal. We're going to just call it W style. No chimney, no skylight, no step, no roof to wall. Ridge vent, PVC. Off ridge vent, none. Power vent cover. Let's see, turtle vents. I've got 5 aluminum turtle vents. We're not painting box vents. I've got 3 medium turbines. Pipe jacks, they're, let's see, plastic. We got two pipe jacks. I need 1 split boot for the weatherhead. No chimney cap, no galvanized flashings, nothing of this. Any additional items? There's a satellite dish. No gutters, no gutter damage. You know, if you had fascia damage, you can add it. And debris removal. If this was a roof only, you just select, you know, it gives you the number of squares on the roof. And then you build the dumpster based on that, right? So now you go in and look at your quantities. You've got continuous ridge vent and things that are in here. So you want to make sure that everything is right. I don't need a height allowance on this one. The ridge vent is, you know, not 61 feet. There's only 48 feet, so I'm changing that. Box vents look good. The split boot, I don't need the tear out because it's replaced only on the meter mast. There's the re-nail. There is the satellite dish. I don't get to recalibrate per carrier guideline, so I'm unchecking that and I'm clicking apply. So now we put, now again, remember, I dropped the assembly on half. Wherever you drop the assembly is where it goes. This is actually a good error point to show. I dropped that assembly only on 1 slope, so that's where it applied it. So that's that was a fault of mine, but now you have an item batch. You can do the same thing, right? Save to the item batch or create your own batch. Go here, item batches, make a new one. This is a roof example. Highlight all the items, save to item batch. You can customize this as you go, right? But again, it takes some time to play around with because you can do it wrong. You just saw there, it did it on 1 half of the roof instead of the whole roof. So the assembly was done wrong, but it gave me the necessary items. Now I can make adjustments. There are some really quirky things with Xactimate. Like sometimes if you copy, or sorry, Symbility, sometimes if you copy line items and like paste them on another slope, it'll multiply them by 4 and add them to it. So you see how that went from 2 to 10? That is a weird thing that has been in Corelogic for years and years. So just be careful not to copy and paste. Sometimes you want to drop. And depends on as depreciation and things changes it, and then it'll combine it later. So just a weird thing to look out for. So that is the basics of creating batches out of assemblies. And again, if you didn't know anything about Symbility, literally these assemblies can walk you through 90% of the line items and get you close as you need to be. And you can adjust depreciation and things later. We'll go more in depth on that. But that is the basic concept of how assemblies work and how to create and save them into batches. Thank you.